Ladies and gentlemen, on this edition of the NX Experience, I have the one and only, the legendary sports writer, sports reporter. You see him every so often, every day almost on FS1. You can hear him every weekday on Fox Sports Radio as one half of The Odd Couple at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Fox Sports Radio. I have been blessed to have the one and only Rob Parker in the building. What's going on, Rob? How you doing?
I'm good, Nick. How are you, bud? Hanging
Hey,
in there.
yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I mean, just trying to navigate my way through this pandemic like everybody else.
That's all we can do, to be honest. I mean, it ain't easy. It's a different way of life. And my big message to people is, man, don't waste this time. You got more free time than you've ever had. You shouldn't be sitting around watching TV, eating snacks and all that. You should be thinking about what the landscape's going to look like when this is all done. We have a new world out there. You got to be ready. Dot all your I's, cross your T's, clean out your closets, clean through your papers, make sure your will is good. I'm serious. This is like an unprecedented amount of time. And that's what I've done. I mean, I got a book coming out in a few weeks that I was working on during this. And, I just think that you shouldn't waste this. And I've plotted out some other projects and whatnot since I've had this time that I never, ever normally have. So don't waste it.
Oh, absolutely. Wise words. I said two things about this pandemic. Either you're going to be one creative individual or you're going to be a lazy ass bum. One of the
Yeah.
two. But I absolutely agree. I saw you've been cleaning out your closet. You've been putting a lot of stuff on sale. But also too, you've been giving the proceeds towards a great cause as well. Talk a little bit about that and what inspired you to do that.
Yeah. I just have a lot of stuff, and I was going through my closets and whatnot. And the whole thing was, I couldn't believe how many things I had that still had tags on it. So I was like, if I still have tags on this stuff, that means I'm not wearing it. Because usually you buy something, you almost put it on almost immediately or the next day, or you know what I mean? So I was like, I don't need all this stuff. I'm just going to go on social media and see if people want it, at a discounted rate. And then I had some, old Jordans and stuff. Again, I just have too much. And again, I know that there's a chance that there are people out there who maybe can't buy the Jordans at full price or whatever when they first come out. So here's a chance. Mine are gently worn because I have so many pair. I don't wear them that often. So a lot of people have been very happy. So I've been able to sell all that stuff. And then also, gear from Fox Sports Radio and The Odd Couple, new stuff that was mixed in. So people were buying that. The sale was really tremendous. I mean, I sold out of all The Odd Couple and Fox Sports Radio gear, sold most of the stuff that I had, a couple pieces left over. And of course, all the Jordans and my shoes, sneakers went like that. So, and then put it together, and I'm going to make a donation to help the pandemic and help people. So that's what I'm in the process of working on now. And you'll be able. I have a book now on Amazon.com. It's called "If I'm Writing, I'm Ripping." So you can get that. And coming up, Nick, I'm always after a big loss or something. I'm always doing these tweets about this mouse urinating on cotton or something related to those games. So that's what the book is. The book is Rob Parker's Tales of Rob Parker's Urinating Mouse. So it'll be coming out in 2 weeks, man. I think it's pretty fun. I think it's good.
Yeah, I can't wait to get that book for sure. I'm sure that's going to be a definite page turner. Only the way that you can bring it. You have a very colorful way of disseminating information. I think it really grabs people's attention, which I think is very rare in today's society, because it's still a level of creativity that I think still needs to happen, especially in our line of work, when you're doing what we're doing on different levels. Talk a little bit about at what point did you find your niche as far as you saying, okay, this is the Rob Parker that I'm trying to project to the world. Like I want the world to see and be able to appreciate, whether they agree or disagree.
You know what? This is a great question, Nick. And I know it'd be hard to believe because I've been in the business 34 years. But it was my journalism teacher at Columbia University when I was getting my master's. Her name was Joanne Lee, and she was my professor. She called me in once. Now, at that time, this is like 1988. It's a long time ago. 1988, and I'm already a staff reporter at the Daily News in New York. This is I've been there 2 years. I'm 24 years old. Most of my classmates haven't really gotten a big job or a job yet. They're still kind of learning their way. Maybe they went to undergrad, but they're not there yet. So she calls me into her office, and she says, you know what you're doing. You know, you're a really good reporter and you write great leads and all this stuff, but I need more from you than what your classmates are given. She said, you're way more advanced than they are. And I want you to be different and stand out. And she was a small Asian woman. And she comes up to me. I'm 6'4". She comes up to me. She fakes like she has a knife in her hand. I swear to you, this is what she did to me. And she stuck it in my back, and she's like the fake knife. And she said, I want you to stick the knife in, turn it, and draw blood. That's what I want you to do. I don't want you to be like everybody else. That stuck with me my whole life. I'll never forget that moment, never forget that. So from there, I always was like, I want to be outside where everybody else is. It doesn't mean that I got to be crazy or outrageous or just take a different view, just to be contrarian. That's not what I do. I just want to dig a little bit deeper and not do the automatics, the story that everybody else is doing. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
I
exactly.
want to just dig deeper and bring something deeper to the table. And I'll tell you, at Newsday in New York, Mickey Mantle dies. He's a New York, he's a baseball icon and a New York legend. So I'm at Yankee Stadium when this happens, and I have to write a column. The easy column is Mickey Mantle is one of the greatest Yankees who ever played, and here's the reason why. Am I right, Nick? I could write that in my sleep.
Exactly.
Easy. I didn't see Mickey Mantle play. I know he was a great player, but I didn't see Mickey Mantle play. And there are a lot of other younger people who know Mickey Mantle's name and his legend, but they did not see him play. So my column on the day that he died, inside a 14-page souvenir edition of Mickey Mantle's death for Newsday, was my column. And my column was, I'd rather have a hero from today than from when Mickey Mantle played, because they covered up the warts. They never really told you. I could still embrace a player who has warts and imperfections and isn't the best guy, but at least I could pick him knowing his full story. Kids idolize Mickey Mantle, but they didn't know he was a drunk and a bad dad and a bad husband, and you know what I mean, and not a nice person, because those things weren't written about. So that was my column. And I got killed on, local radio in New York. Newsday received more mail on that column than anything ever written. And people were like, I was trying to make a name for myself. And, how dare I write that about Mickey Mantle? But that wasn't the case, Nick. It was really, what can I bring to the table? And my thing was, heroes of those days weren't real heroes because we didn't know everything about them. And that's what I'm always looking to do. I want to just be different, dig deeper, and give people not the obvious.
So how did you handle all of that? I mean, New York is a big market. New York is no joke. They tell it like it is and not like it was. How did you handle that mentally with all the criticism that was coming your way by writing such an outstanding yet controversial column?
I've had tough skin my whole life again, and it comes with the territory. if you're going to be a hard-hitting newspaper columnist or analyst on television and you can dish it out, you got to be able to take it. So I'm not soft-skinned. If people push back, I've had players scream on me, you know what I mean, confront me, all kinds of stuff throughout my career. And it's fine. As long as there's nothing physical, I can handle myself. I once had Lou Piniella. I was covering the Cincinnati Reds for the Cincinnati Enquirer in 1991 or 2. I can't remember. I think it might have been 91. And Lou Piniella was the manager. You remember Nick, a fiery guy, always arguing with umpires, throwing bases around, kicking dirt. I mean, people don't know. Google Lou Piniella, the best of, and it's just crazy. He was a really good player, but he was fiery. And so a lot of the players on the Reds complained to me about Lou, that it wasn't fun to play for him. I thought it was a good enough story column that I would, and they didn't want to put their name to it because they didn't want to feel the wrath from him. So I had to write it, use some anonymous quotes, and then put the stuff that I did background on. And it wasn't just one player who told me this. So I got enough from 3 or 4 players to say, okay, this is legit. This isn't one guy who's got a gripe with Lou Piniella trying to burn him. You got me?
Got you.
So I write this article, and the headline on it was "Sweet Lou Turned Sour, How Players Don't Have Fun Playing for Lou Piniella." It was like that. We're in St. Louis. It was a day game on a Sunday. I have my back turned. I'm interviewing a player. And Lou Piniella comes running out of his office. And I mean at the top of his lungs. "Get your effing ass in my office right now." The whole clubhouse. You know, Sunday morning, you've been in a clubhouse, quiet, people all getting dressed. Man, the place goes silent. All the players stop. And they were all thinking to themselves, oh, wow. Is Rob going back down? You know, Lou's a big guy. He's yelling at him. Or is Rob going to stand his ground? That was my moment of truth right there. What guy was I going to be? I turned around to Lou Piniella. I grabbed my clothes. I looked at him. I said, "Is this a Reds uniform? I don't work for you. I work for the Cincinnati Enquirer. If you have an issue with something that I've written and you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. But I ain't going to your office and you're not going to be yelling at me and all that." He took 2 steps back, apologized. Can we talk? We went into his office. He yelled at me a little bit. I yelled at him. And here's the moral of the story. So a couple weeks later, we're in Cincinnati now. After a game, all my peers are in his office. And Lou, out of nowhere, says, "Do you remember the column that Rob wrote a couple weeks ago? He was right. I have to change. I can't manage the way that they managed me back when I was a player. Times have changed. You got to treat people differently, and you can't treat everybody the same. That doesn't work today." And I had the utmost respect for Lou Piniella because he yelled at me in front of my peers and all the players. You know what I mean?
Right.
But to do it in front of everybody, he could have pulled me aside and said, "I was wrong. I'm going to change." He was a big man to do that. And that's another moment that I'll never forget.
No, that was a defining moment. I totally understand where you're coming from, because to have somebody like that and to have somebody talk to you in that way and for you to be able to turn it around and control the situation, a lot of people wouldn't be able to do that, or they would probably fly off the handle just as much, and it all been all chaos. So the fact that you stood your ground, but the way you stood your ground, to me, was most important, because you not only commanded respect, but you still got the message across, and you guys were still able to have a conversation beyond your emotions. And I think that's a very valuable lesson.
No doubt about it. That's the way you handle those things. I don't work for the Reds, and too many reporters think they're on the team. You can't be. You're not on the team.
Exactly.
You're not on the team. Just tell it like it is. What you see, players, whether they like it or not. I've had so many players come up to me after their playing careers are over and said, "I didn't get it when I was a player." You know what I mean? I really didn't. I was on the team. I thought, you were just a hater and all that. But, dude, you had a job to do, and I respect it. You did what you had to do, said what you had to say, and you came around. If you're afraid to go in the locker room because you wrote or said something, about a particular person, then you probably shouldn't say it if you're afraid to be around that person. I'm not saying you rip somebody and then go on their face and taunt them, but that ain't gonna stop me from doing my job. And if the guy wants to push back or say something to you, man, just own up to it. And if he wants clarification on why you said what you said or why you wrote what you wrote, you should be able to clarify and move on.
No, absolutely. And I will say this much for people that don't really know you beyond TV. Like, you're one of the most personable, down to earth guys that I've ever met in this industry. I mean, I know a lot of people, I know how we got introduced through a mutual friend, but I mean, the way that you would just lay back, like if we didn't know you were Rod Parker, the person on TV, the TV personality, the radio personality, if you just look like a regular guy that just loves, sports and loves to have conversations about all diverse, situations. And so to me, and that comes out in your writing, it comes out in your personality. And speaking of personalities, how did the odd couple come about? Because Chris Broussard is one personality, you're another personality. How did you all blend that together to have one of the most successful radio shows out right now? That's really something that the people demand.
You know what? It's very interesting. And Chris and I have known each other for 25 years. I mean, Chris, of course, covered the NBA, worked in New York at the New York Times. I worked in New York at the Daily News and at Newsday. We've known each other through the writing ranks, the National Association of Black Journalists. We first met back in 1992 at the NABJ convention, which was in Detroit. I also met Stephen A. Smith at that same convention. It's the greatest. I love it. It got canceled this year, obviously, because of what's happening. But it's a great place for people to go and exchange ideas and meet other writers. It's such an uplifting thing. When you leave, you really feel good about your industry and the people, all the smart and successful people and what they're doing. But so Chris and I, we never really, and we used to do First Take together on ESPN, and obviously we're over here, but we never really thought about doing a radio show together. And we both had, when we first came out to LA, I had a Saturday show with a guy named Mark Willard, and Chris had a Sunday show with Mark Willard. And that was really it. We were, doing two separate shows and with the same guy. And Don Martin, who's the boss, Fox Sports Radio, and Scott Shapiro, those are the two bosses. So Don heard a podcast. I did Chris's basketball podcast, and it was fiery, and we went at it. And Don Martin was like, "We got something wrong here." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Why are you two guys separate? You should be on the same show. I know you don't have the quote unquote radio backgrounds, or you're not radio guys, even though I had a radio show in Detroit for 10 years. But I, like the radio guy says, I think you guys would be great together and you guys could do it. And you could alternate taking the lead or whatever you want to do. But I think it would be great together. Scott agreed with Don, and then they gave us a Sunday night show for, I think, 3 or 4 hours. And we did that for 6 months. And the Odd Couple concept is really real. It's not forced. It's not fake. Chris and I are very, very different guys. We really are. And we see sports differently. And we argue a lot over stuff. And it's all real. It's not fake. It's not like, Chris, you take this side. And Rob, you take this side. It doesn't come out like that. It really is natural. And I think that's the part that people like, is that you could hear it. You could also hear that we're not mad at each other, like we can't stand each other. Like you've heard radio shows like that, Nick,
right,
where they can't stand each other. And it comes across on the radio. So that's not it. We're friends. We do a radio show. We disagree. And the other thing is, our show is fun. We love to get callers and listeners involved. And it's informative. We want to be able to give you information. We don't, not stuff that you just can read by yourself on the internet. But our experience, we both have covered sports. Chris, 25 years, me, 34 years. Or you know what I mean? We've been in the trenches. We've been at those big games. We've talked to people. Chris can text Michael Jordan. I have people I can text that are out there. You know what I mean? That that you need to hear from, and maybe you don't hear from them directly, but you have a plug. So that's the stuff that we bring to the table: credibility, information, fun, and I think that's why our radio show is doing so well. I'm very proud of it. We got a year and a half in the can, and full steam ahead. It's doing well.
Yeah, I enjoy listening to it when I'm in the car. The times I am in the car these days,
Right.
Sirius XM. I think it's a great concept. I think you guys definitely have really good chemistry, and I think it shows. I mean, just with your personalities, and I think to me, it's very inspiring to show others like myself and others that whatever you put your mind to, whatever you want to do, you can do it as long as you have that link of authenticity, and
It
be
is
able to bring
about,
something.
people see that through that. They do. If you're a phony or, like too wishy-washy, one day you're over here, one day you're always changing your pick. People don't want that. People want people who, people can disagree with me, but they're like, I see how you got there. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
understand where you're coming from. I don't agree with it, but if you're just out in left field and there's no rhyme or reason, or one day you're saying Bill Belichick and it is the biggest cheating coach ever, and the next day you're calling him the greatest coach ever, then people go, well, this guy last week he was ripping Bill Belichick. Now this week he's telling me he's the greatest coach ever coaching at. Well, which one is it? I don't think people want that.
Nah, you fake as a $3 bill. Nobody wants to listen to that. You're absolutely right. I mean, one thing I got to get two more things before I let you go, Rob. Now, you come real hard on Tom Brady. I know you piss off a lot of people. I know a lot of – there you go.
That was my Christmas present from Christmas card, the Habot, the hatingest brother of all time.
Hey, man, you know what? It's to me, it's thoroughly entertaining. I know a lot of people probably write you emails and tweets and stuff like that. But why did you take the position that you took on Tom Brady?
Tom Brady is a great quarterback. We all know that. But he has lived a charmed life, Nick. Let's call it what it is. First Super Bowl. And why I call him the LOAT, not the GOAT. I call him the luckiest of all time, the LOAT. And Tom Brady, just think about it. First Super Bowl, right? Tuck rule with the Raiders. He fumbled the football and got it back. That was a Super Bowl. They wouldn't have lost the game had the Raiders gotten possession of the football right in that spot.
Absolutely.
So, right? And in that whole playoff and Super Bowl, how many touchdowns did Tom Brady throw? The entire playoffs and Super Bowl. One. That's all he did. Okay. So that's one Super Bowl. Carolina scores tie, and the Panthers kicker kicks the ball out of bounds. Start at the 40, Tom Brady gets the ball, moves it down 20 some odd yards. Adam Vinatieri kicks game-winning field. Game over. Then we could go to, of course, the Super Bowl with Seattle. They got the best running back in football, who has over 100 and some odd yards in the Super Bowl. They got enough time to run at least two plays. They're at the 1 yard line. Even the announcer, even Chris Collinsworth says, the Patriots should let them score so they have to get the ball back and have a chance. That's what they're saying. Right. Let them score, right? Because you're just at the 1 yard line. You assume beast mode is going to bring it in. They throw the football in a crowded, you know how small the end zone is when you're at the 1 or 2 yard line, right?
Yeah, it's tight.
No room. There's a chance for a tip. And there's just a chance. There's no room to work with. Interception. That's another Super Bowl. Lucky. Atlanta's up 28-3 late in the third quarter. They rushed the ball only 4 times in the second half. When you have a big lead, you got to rush the football. Worse than all that, still can win the game. Julio Jones makes an unbelievable catch on third down, right? 1st and 10 at the 23. All they have to do is kneel down 3 times, kick a field goal. They were up by 8. They would go up by 11. Game's over. What do they do? What do they do that you're not supposed to do? Pass the football. A, They get a holding, they get a sack, they're out of field goal range. And the other part is by having those things, you stop the clock, which of course gives least time for Brady. They could have just run 3 running plays, eat up the play clock all the way until the end. I mean, elementary football. I'm not a football coach. Everybody knows that that's how you play that. So that was another. And of course, he won the last one. He's supposed to be against the Rams, who were no-shows offensively. One of the fifth best offense in the history of the NFL. They managed 3 points on an 89-yard field goal. I mean, that was all they could get. And Tom Brady threw no touchdowns and won the Super Bowl. That's my case. Doesn't mean that he hasn't been great, put up other numbers. And if you want to go back to even when they beat the Chiefs and Ford, who was offsides, when Tom threw a game-losing pick that was called back because he was offsides. There was another opportunity where it worked out. If you give him a chance or you make a mistake, he makes you pay for it. But I'm telling you, he's been very lucky.
I mean, it's hard to argue that. I mean, he is great, no doubt. But it's hard to argue when you make solid points like that. But I know it pisses a lot of people off because people get wrapped up in their emotions, their fans, and that's exactly what happens. Tom. Oh yeah, they love Tom. And another person, obviously we've been watching the great documentary called The Last Dance. I mean, it's been, to me, so far, it's been fantastic. It brought up a lot of memories. It gave me some things that I didn't know, obviously because of my age.
Great behind-the-scenes footage that we've never seen. So I love it too.
Absolutely. You made an interesting point. You said, finally, can some of these millennials, and I'm paraphrasing, can some of these millennials realize that Michael Jordan is the GOAT and not LeBron? What made you say that? And then what was the reaction that you got from making a statement along those lines? Because to me, I absolutely agree with you. I think Michael was the GOAT. I don't give a damn what era you played in. Michael was a GOAT for so many reasons beyond just basketball.
And it ain't just, people go, well, just because he was 6-0, he led the NBA in scoring 10 years in a row. He was Defensive Player of the Year a few times. You know what I mean? It isn't just one thing, the 6 championships, and he won all 6 MVPs. Like everybody, I'm not disrespecting Scotty or anybody else. If Scotty was really that guy, he had a chance to win a MVP, right? If he was really that guy. Michael won all 6. His numbers, scoring average in the playoffs, the highest ever, right? 32 points. So when you look at all the things that he's done, and when you talk about being a GOAT, you're going to nitpick about everything. And it's hard to look at him. And then here's the other thing. They always say, well, who'd he play? Who'd he beat? He didn't beat. Dude, Michael Jordan, I can name you 10 players who are Hall of Famers who didn't eat during the Jordan era. Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Steve Nash, Gary Payton, Reggie Miller. These are all Hall of Famers, right? None of them won a championship. In the LeBron era, who didn't eat? Dirk won. KD, Curry. Who else am I missing? But you get my point.
Klay Thompson, yeah, like, all of them, yeah.
Everybody who got shut out. Paul Pierce won. Kevin Garnett won. Who didn't win a championship during LeBron's era? I can't name anybody.
Right.
So everyone won, and I just, when I look at that, that's what I marvel at. And I'm fortunate enough to have covered both. I covered Michael Jordan during those early years. I was there in Cleveland, Nick, when he made that shot over Craig Elo to win the series, not to win the game, to win the series. He misses that. They go home. I was in Detroit for the migraine in the Game 7. I was there I covered that. I was at Chicago Stadium on Memorial Day every year when they were playing a big playoff game, to get to the finals. I mean, I watched, and back then the media sat courtside. I had a front row seat. I could hear everything. Back then, me and the other writers, we knew we were watching something special. At that time, even before he won, even when he was in Cleveland, you remember they won that series and then they lost in the next round. So even then, I was like, that was to me was the start of this guy is special and is going to break through. And then for all the people who think, oh, you guys all idolize Michael Jordan and you never say anything negative about Michael Jordan was criticized when he first started out in those 7 years before he ever broke through. People were saying, oh, just a dunker. He doesn't make anybody any better. He'll never win. All that stuff was said about him until he started to win. And then people, were hooked on. My big thing is people watching now, and a lot of these millennials and generation, what is it, Z or whatever? Is it
Right.
Z? They don't have cable, so maybe they're not watching this. So they might miss out. But if you watch this, I think that there'll be more people who have more appreciation of Jordan. It's one thing to just watch YouTube games, but to get it in context and have the interviews and the behind-the-scene footage and what he's been through. If you just watch the video of every time he went to the lane and how he got pounded, there was no superstar calls. Nobody got thrown out. There were no flagrant fouls. Did you see, Nick?
Yeah, exactly.
He got hammered.
Yeah, he got mollywopped going down that lane. I mean, he realized he had to get stronger, and his team had to get stronger to match him in order to even
It didn't stop him
dethrone
from
the
going
Pistons.
either, right? You know what? He didn't cry, but he went and said, I got to get stronger to be able to do it in order to survive that. And also he became a better perimeter shooter.
Yeah, he did. I mean, I've always said the greatness of Michael Jordan opened up the doors for people like Kobe Bryant and LeBron James to flourish even more so on and off the court. So if it wasn't for Michael Jordan, we wouldn't have these guys that we're talking about now that I mentioned, and even others as well that you mentioned. So listen, I think Michael Jordan's greatness can never truly logically uh, be disputed in any way, shape, or form. If you do, you're just a plain idiot, and you just don't want to. You just denouncing greatness. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, man, you're just not being rational because I'm not saying that everybody 100%, but this whole notion that a guy who's 3-6 in the finals and has passed up some shots that he should have probably taken, that you could talk about stats and piling up numbers and all that. It's about, I always say, sports has a short menu, wins and losses. That's what sports is about. Nothing else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listen, Rob, let everybody know where they can find you and keep up with you on social media and all your great work, man.
Okay, yep. Instagram and Twitter, it's at Rob Parker FS1. Don't forget, you can get my book at Amazon.com. If I'm writing, I'm ripping. And my little mouse tweet book is coming out in a couple of weeks, so I'll be looking out for that. And, of course, you can listen to The Odd Couple, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 4 to 7 Pacific, Fox Sports Radio, Sirius XM Channel 83, or on the iHeartRadio app. And, when we get back to normal, I'll be back doing some of the appearances with The Herd and, of course, Undisputed with Skip and Shannon. So you can get me there, all those places. And, Nick, I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much, Rob. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun. And definitely have to get you on the show once all this stuff clears up.
All right. And we got to start marketing these boat hats. We might have these for sale. You can go check
I'm
out
definitely
the
going to cop one.
website. It's getrob.com. We got some Odd Couple stuff, T-shirts and hats. So you can go to getrob.com.
Cool, man. Sounds like a plan. I'm definitely going to get one of those hats, though. I definitely got to get one just to mess with people. I like poking the bear. Thank you so much, the one and only Rob Parker. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, Nick. Thanks.